Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I welcome you to this lecture session. So today we'll be discussing on a new topic, which is metabolism of bacteria. But before we go any further, let us be familiar with the term metabolism. Please understand, metabolism is just the sum of all the chemical reaction that take place in living organisms. So it's the sum of all the chemical reactions you have to understand that metabolism itself is divided into two components, that is anabolism and catabolism. So metabolism, we'll summarize it in this way. Metabolism is divided into anabolism and catabolism. So now, talking about anabolism first, you have to understand that anabolism is just the synthesis of large complex molecules from smaller molecules. For example, we earlier learned about carbohydrates. So the synthesis of those monomer units to form the actual carbohydrates, that is an example of an anabolism reaction. So here there is synthesis of a complex from smaller ones. In contrast, when we talk of catabolism, it's just the breakdown. So breaking down of a complex molecule to simpler ones, that is catabolism. So here there is breaking. Now, grammatically, we can illustrate anabolism as the synthesis of a complex molecule from smaller ones. So these are smaller molecules. In anabolism reaction, they'll form a complex molecule. So this complex, a large complex molecule, is formed. In contrast, when we talk about catabolism, here we are going to find out that there is a breakdown of a large complex molecule to smaller molecule. Therefore, diagrammatically, we can illustrate catabolism. I'll use the same example. a large complex molecule which is formed from anabolism. It is broken down into smaller molecules. So this is about anabolism and catabolism that are collectively referred to metabolism. So if we can define, in fact, metabolism in line with the topic, that is metabolism of bacteria, we can say metabolism is the sum of all the chemical processes taking place in a bacteria. Now, we'll go further to talk about energies. Now, when you see in anabolism, there is a formation of a large compound. Now, this process requires energy. So, in anabolism reaction, we need energy. And when I talk of energy, it is in form of ATP. Therefore, ATP energy is required. Now, when we talk of catabolism, here we are breaking a large complex. Now, this large complex can have a lot of substances in it. So when we break down this, for example, let's talk about carbohydrate. When we break down those carbohydrates, they are broken down into monomer units. For example, let's say glucose is formed. From glucose, we're going to it will be broken down further and it will generate energy. So here there will be, in catabolism reactions, there will be ATP production. So here there is ATP production. All right. Now, the bacteria, please understand that the bacteria employs certain mechanism for ATP to be generated. And the three mechanisms that are used by bacteria, we have one, which is aerobic respiration. Two, there is anaerobic respiration. And fermentation. So let us look at each of these mechanisms at a time. So we'll start with aerobic respiration. So aerobic respiration. Now, aerobic respiration occurs in 3 steps. So the first step in aerobic respiration is glycolysis. So this is the first step. Now from glycolysis, we go to the Krebs cycle. From the Krebs cycle, then there is what we call the electron transport chain. Now, glycolysis, this is the first step in breakdown of glucose. So now, Let me illustrate this using a diagram. I'll summarize all these using a diagram. So in respiration, we know that we need oxygen as the source. Oxygen will combine with, let's say, glucose. Then from glucose, it will be broken down and release energy, and carbon dioxide will be released. Now, the first step in aerobic respiration, it is glycolysis. So glycolysis breaks down the molecule of glucose. So suppose this is a cell of a bacteria and it has a flagella. Yes, and this is the plasma membrane of the bacteria cell. So now, what will happen? A molecule of glucose will be broken down via the process which we are saying glycolysis. So the breakdown of glucose via the process of glycolysis, it will release a molecule which we are saying the pyruvate molecule. Now, when pyruvate is formed, also ATP is generated. Just breaking down a molecule of glucose, ATP is generated. Now you have to understand that as ATP is formed, there are free hydrogen ions that are released, and also an electron is also released. So hydrogen ions are released, and an electron is also released. So now, from the pyruvate, the molecule that is formed, which is the pyruvate, is also broken down into smaller units. Now it is broken down via a process which we are saying the Krebs cycle. So this is the second step. So in the Krebs cycle, the pyruvate, not the glucose, but the pyruvate is broken down. Now, two things can occur. It can either be the Krebs cycle or also fermentation can occur. Now, in fermentation, the pyruvate will easily release ATP. So here there is quick production of ATP. Now, as ATP is formed, hydrogen ions are also released and an electron is released. Now, the Krebs cycle, the pyruvate will be broken down in such a way that it will undergo numerous processes following the Krebs cycle. And these processes will help in ATP production. Hello? Yes, you're talking to me, Simon. Yes. And always remember that as ATP is formed, hydrogen ions are released and one electron is also released. Now, these electrons that are released are very important because they are also used in the production of ATP. So, these electrons, they are all harvested and they are used in the electron transport chain, which is the third process in aerobic respiration. Now, for us to discuss electron transport chain. And looking at time, we'll continue this lecture tomorrow morning as it is showing on our timetable. And then finally we'll conclude and we'll have a broader understanding on the electron transport chain. For now, have a good day and thank you all for coming. Please, if you have liked my video, subscribe to my YouTube channel. I'm Kay. Have a good day.